Hey everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to your fourth stimulus check and news update. In today's video, we have a lot of news to get into, but first, if you would like to receive 2 free stocks from Webull valued up to $2,300, make sure to claim them by clicking my link, which you'll find in the description box below. Alrighty, so while stimulus checks continue going out in states such as California and Florida, Americans who aren't eligible for these are forced to wait a little bit longer for their survival checks. And even though it's looking unlikely that they'll end up passing a nationwide relief payment like the third one, some states continue having their own payment programs. New York, for example, may have been the most generous of all by giving undocumented workers up to $15,600. So if an undocumented worker could prove they weren't eligible for unemployment benefits because of their immigration status, lost income due to the pandemic, and lived in the state, they could be eligible for this money. Other undocumented immigrants were eligible for up to $3,200 in payments. Not too shabby. According to the Pew Research Center, around 725,000 undocumented immigrants live in the state of New York, of which nearly half of them were eligible for these payments. And in some other news, we are now just 16 days away from a possible government shutdown if they don't pass a CR deal by the end of this month. Now, I don't personally see them failing to pass a short-term funding bill, but it has lapsed several times in recent years, although just for a short period of time. If you remember back in late 2018 and early 2019, the government was shut down for a record amount of time, 35 days. And just recently, President Biden called on Congress to approve a stopgap funding bill in which they would like to include billions of dollars in hurricane relief, as well as money to help relocate Afghan refugees. So this is going to be their number one priority at the moment, funding the government at least for the next couple of months. Kick the can down the road, per se. Then, their other priorities include the reconciliation bill and bipartisan infrastructure bill, both of which are pretty much tied together. Other than those two bills, they're also looking to raise the debt ceiling. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said that if they fail to raise the debt limit, quote, irreparable damage to the US economy and global financial markets would take place. So far at least, Republican leaders said they have no plans in assisting the Democrats in raising the debt limit, and instead challenged them to lift the ceiling in their reconciliation bill. When the House returns to Washington next week, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she plans to vote on the Women's Health Protection Act, which would make abortion a legal right throughout the United States, and also prevent states from putting medical restrictions on procedures. After it passes in the House, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer could then take up the bill, but at this point it would likely fail since he would need 10 Republicans to agree to the bill as well, something that would most likely not happen. So back to the reconciliation bill for a moment. As we have all talked and heard about, there is currently this huge rift between moderate Democrats such as Joe Manchin and progressive Democrats such as Bernie Sanders and AOC. This is because Joe Manchin is calling for a pause in spending and doesn't want to see another $3.5 trillion spent in the reconciliation bill, whereas progressive Democrats such as AOC believe that $3.5 trillion should be the floor. Well, on CNN's State of the Union, Manchin was confronted by the person interviewing him with AOC's comment about him. Cortez claims that Manchin is having these weekly meetings with Exxon and other lobbyists. AOC believes because of these so-called bipartisan bills Manchin is agreeing to, he's killing people and she's sick of this corruption taking place. To this, Manchin denied her claims, saying that he keeps his door open to everybody. He then says he's tired of the division and calls her, quote, young lady. Take a listen.
No sense.
I'm sure you've heard your fellow Democrat, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, said this about you in a tweet. Manchin has weekly huddles with Exxon and is one of many senators who gives lobbyists their pen to write so-called bipartisan fossil fuels bills. It's killing people. Sick of this bipartisan corruption that masquerades as clear-eyed moderation. This is your fellow Democrat.
Well,
is it true that you have weekly meetings with Exxon
not.
and other
absolutely
lobbyists
not.
for fossil fuel?
No, they don't. Weekly meetings, I don't.
It's just false.
I keep my door open for everybody. It's totally false. And those type of superlatives, it's just awful. Continue to divide, divide, divide. I don't know the young lady that well. I really don't. I've met her one time, I think, between sets here, but that's it. So we have not had any conversations. She's just speculating and saying things because she wants to.
She's not the only one. I'm sure you've heard There are a number of your fellow Democrats who say that you're opposed to this because you're
I'm
bought and
opposed to
paid
it.
for by
I'm opposed to
corporate
it because
donors.
it makes no sense at all. I just gave you the facts. I've said this: you're entitled to your own facts. I mean, your own opinions. You're just not entitled to create your own facts to support it. And that's exactly what they're doing. The facts I've given you is the transition's happening. Reliability. Look what happened in Texas. It was natural gas that basically shut down in Texas that caused all that horrible carnage to people. It was awful.
So he calls her young lady, and to this, AOC gets deeply offended. She gets on Twitter and says, "In Washington, I usually know my questions of power are getting somewhere when the powerful stop referring to me as Congresswoman and start referring to me as, quote, young lady instead, wink face." Imagine if every time someone referred to someone as young lady, they were responded to by being addressed with their age and gender. They would be pretty upset if one responded with, quote, the old man, right? Why this kind of weird, patronizing behavior is so accepted is beyond me. So not only do progressives such as AOC and moderates such as Joe Manchin seemingly have mixed views on policy, but now it seems like they can't even get along on a personal basis. I guess Democrats should at least be thankful that these two aren't in the same chamber, or in other words, AOC being in the Senate with Manchin, or Manchin being in the House with Ocasio-Cortez. That would not be pretty. So, lots of drama left to unfold in the month of September, and I'm sure the way things are going, all these bills, especially the reconciliation and bipartisan bills, are going to run through the rest of the fall. Okay, so other than all that craziness, at some point today, the CPI for August is going to be released. For those of you on Social Security benefits, this is going to be a real key number to look out for. Depending on what it is, should provide a bit of clarity on what the cost of living adjustment for next year will be like. Based on data from July, it already looks like next year could be the highest cost of living adjustment for Social Security recipients in nearly 40 years. At the moment, the Senior Citizens League estimates that the annual COLA could be at 6.2% for next year based on the figures from last month. Since the COLA is based on the averages of July, August, and September CPI data, the numbers we see today are going to be huge. And even though we definitely hate to see prices continue rising like they had this year, people on Social Security benefits should begin seeing some help starting next year. And I get what you're thinking, we have to wait all the way until next year to receive help? What about now? Well, the Senior Citizens League also thought of that as well, and that's why they've created a petition for Social Security beneficiaries to receive a $1,400 payment. Of course, just because they created a petition doesn't necessarily mean lawmakers will listen and try to help, but it definitely couldn't hurt. So if you would like, I will go ahead and leave the petition in the description box below, just in case you would like to check it out, or possibly even sign on to the petition. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Again, if you would like to receive a couple of free stocks from Webull, make sure to quickly claim them by clicking my link, which you'll find in the description box below. To receive the first free stock, you will need to fully open an account. Then to receive the second free stock, which will be valued up to $2,000, you'll need to make a qualifying deposit of at least $5. And even if you aren't all that interested in investing or continuing to invest at this point in time, you can always sell the free stocks you receive and transfer that money, however much they're worth, right back to your bank account. So free stocks or free money is completely up to you. So once again, I hope everyone has a great and safe rest of their day, and I'll see you in the next video.